It's an understatement to say that the pandemic has caused quite a lot of problems around the world. The financial climate has severely impacted a lot of different sectors, and football is one of those. As things stand, fans are still not allowed inside stadiums, which means that clubs can no longer rely on a crucial source of income. Every match day, teams continue to lose millions in potential income, so it's very understandable to see club owners hold on tightly to their purses. The January transfer window is already on, but things have been very slow. There aren't a lot of movements happening, and most of the clubs are prioritising loan moves. Moreover, clubs whose financial situation isn't that great are looking to cut their losses. Recently, Arsenal took out a loan from the government in order to keep things going. They also terminated Mesut Ozil's contract, with the former World Cup winner now set to play for Fenerbahce in Turkey. Barcelona were eager to sign Eric Garcia this January, but the young defender's move to Camp Nou has been paused for a while, and depending on La Blaugrana's financial issues, we're not sure if they'll go for it this summer. In France, things are getting bad with each passing week. Pretty much every team apart from Paris Saint-Germain is in a mess. French football had always looked wistfully at the likes of England, Spain and Germany, whose top-tier leagues offer clubs a lot of financial comfort. This is why you'd never see the best players stay at Ligue 1 for long. Clubs in France simply didn't have the money to hold on to their best players. Quite recently, Moussa Dembélé joined Atletico Madrid on loan with an option to buy from Olympique Lyonnais. However, there was a glimmer of hope for French teams once Spanish broadcaster Mediapro came with a lucrative deal that would make the league a more attractive proposition. Sadly though, it was to be a false dawn. French football faces a moment of reckoning after Ligue 1's huge deal with Mediapro collapsed. French football clubs were hoping to see the deal revitalise the league, with Mediapro promising €814 million a year, while also receiving €330 million from beIN Sports. The deal was the second largest TV deal in Europe, but as it turned out, it was nothing but a mirage, which has now put French football on the brink of financial ruin. But it wasn't as if there was a told-you-so moment there. When the rights were first sold in 2018, critics did show their concerns over the ability of Mediapro to be able to follow through in the long run. A few years ago, a similar deal with Serie A collapsed because Mediapro was unable to offer sufficient financial guarantees. Gaetano Michiche, the president of Serie A at the time, revealed that they were not very assured by Mediapro and that their assurances were unacceptable. But Ligue 1, mostly considered as an afterthought in the Europe's Big Five discourse, was so desperate to land the deal that a lot of red flags were simply ignored. OGC Nice CEO Bob Ratcliffe earlier in 2020 pointed out that unlike the Italians, the LFP did not seek out guarantees. Ratcliffe believes that the authorities could have done much better and been more active, keeping in mind the recent history of Mediapro. So once the deal collapsed, it became clear that LFP had pretty much consigned most of the teams in Ligue 1 to a torrid financial catastrophe. In all honesty, the deal was too good to be true. Canal+, who are likely to take over Mediapro's deal for a far less amount, always believed that their rivals had overpaid. For Mediapro, the deal did not make any sense at all. In order to turn a profit from their investment, Mediapro's subscription channel Telefoot had to boast more than 4 million subscribers. It was clear that LFP was completely ignoring the issues Mediapro was besieged by in a post-pandemic economy. The media conglomerate's position was weakened further when their credit rating was downgraded. Even though they were able to pay the first €172 million installment in August, LFP must have thought that they were pretty much in the clear. But in October, Mediapro asked to defer the second installment, with the company looking to renegotiate the deal. However, in order to understand the circumstances dictating the nature of this collapse, you can look at how the 2019-20 Ligue 1 campaign was cancelled, rather than assessing other options. French clubs were motivated to protect the Mediapro deal and therefore decided to end the season prematurely. As things stand, Mediapro has agreed to pay €100 million of the outstanding €324.8 million owed to LFP. Out of the €3.25 billion they were expected to pay over 4 years, Mediapro have barely paid 10% of the figure. So what happens now? Canal+ is negotiating a deal with LFP, but don't expect them to pay anywhere near what Mediapro was going to pay. Canal are definitely going to play hardball, and in the backdrop of all this, there are quite a few clubs that risk going bankrupt. Stade de Reims president Jean-Pierre Caillot believes that without TV rights money, ticketing money or hospitality money, clubs can't function. So where did the LFP and French clubs go wrong? It is quite clear that as an income stream, TV rights deals are fluctuating in a sense that the numbers are not always going to be uniform. Such deals do get renegotiated all the time, and a debacle such as the one that MediaPro caused can happen to any league. DNCG, a local body that looks to safeguard the financial well-being of French clubs, also paints a grim outlook of most of the clubs competing in Ligue 1. The president, Jean-Marc Michelet, revealed that the Ligue 1 overall deficit is close to 800 million euros following the MediaPro deal collapse. In order to climb its way out of the woods, Ligue 1 clubs are being asked to start taking measures to ease the burden on the wage bill. As things stand, Ligue 1 is not a sustainable place, and by next season, French clubs will reach a situation where they would have already consumed all of their funds. So, where have these French clubs been going wrong? To begin with, some clubs in Ligue 1 have more than 50 professionals under contract, and it doesn't make any sense. Not only that, French clubs were becoming far too reliant on broadcast money in order to put themselves in a position to compete with the other top 4 leagues in Europe. However, the commercial and marketing aspect of all this was ignored, and there was never a willingness from clubs to work on a brand that aims to create fans, rather than sustaining the existing ones. Unlike teams from the Premier League, most of the Ligue 1 clubs don't seem to operate at a global level, which is why they've always been reliant on inconsistent revenue streams such as broadcast and player sales. Player sales, just like TV rights deals, are never a sure shot formula of making things work. A club might be able to sell a few players for 100 million euros in one summer transfer window, but what is the guarantee that it would be able to do the same thing next summer? That's exactly what's happening at Lille. They've been in a poor financial state for a long time, but were able to stay afloat only because they were able to consistently produce and sell players for crazy profit margins. However, the club's financial situation worsened, and they were eventually bought by an American consortium for way less than their true market value. The club is also willing to sell its best players at a bargain, and if a team like Lille that regularly plays in Europe is forced to go down that road, what would you say about the likes of Montpellier, Metz, Nancy-Lorraine, and others who barely get by? Relying on these two income streams can take a club to the brink of financial catastrophe, and this is what we're looking at in France. Ligue 1 clubs never had a plan B to begin with, and on top of that, LFP's inability to conduct their due diligence on MediaPro has further put question marks over the long-term viability of the league. In the coming months, there's a strong likelihood that a lot of Ligue 1 clubs will be in immense debt. Throw in UEFA's financial fair play rules, and you have a potential investor or a group of those thinking twice before they even consider buying a team from France. And in the odd case where a potential investor does come in to rescue a team, do you think it would be a permanent solution? The league in general doesn't really get a lot of global mileage. Had it not been for PSG, Ligue 1 would never have gotten close to earning good money from a TV rights deal. But at the end of the day, it was a poor bit of planning from the club's side for beefing up their squads, both the first team and the reserves, without looking at things logically and not thinking about the consequences of their recruiting habits if things went south.